Kenya's international reputation looking like at the moment?
Forget the clamor to want to be in the front lines, the kukula tear gas or whatever, which is good. But in addition to that, unaoneshwa, this is where the monies have been going. 10 billion zilitengwa za kutengeneza hii na hii na hii. For 10 billion and contractor amelipwa 80%. This is what is, and this is what we have.
And the most effective part is he was not only showing them that it's 100 billion that has been stolen, he was showing them how it affects you personally,
yes,
in your day-to-day life.
Yes.
And I think that was the genius of Morara.
Right? So there is that.
Yeah.
Then, people always talked of corruption or whatever. Then you have this guy who decides to say, let's not talk. Let us show. So hold my beer. Anaanza kufanya audit. Ya town, ya Marigitis, stadiums,
roads,
hospitals, police cells, whatnot, as in to show people this is where your money is going.
Yeah.
Forget the clamor to want to be in the front lines, the kukula tear gas or whatever, which is good. But in addition to that, unaoneshwa, this is where the monies have been going. 10 billion zilitengwa za kutengeneza hii na hii na hii. For 10 billion and contractor amelipwa 80%. This is what is, and this is what we have.
And the most effective part is he was not only showing them that it's 100 billion that has been stolen, he was showing them how it affects you personally,
yes,
in your day-to-day life.
Yes.
And I think that was the genius of Morara.
That was it.
Because unajua ukisikia, like road ilitengwa 100 billion, it doesn't make any sense
and
to you.
And you haven't even, like now for example, unaambiwa the Maimahio road or whatever, if you've never been, you won't know.
Yeah.
Correct.
If you're in Homa Bay or if you're in Northeastern Wargadud, outajua, right?
Yeah.
So the only person that will know is the person there,
yeah,
Maimahio or whatever, the local guy. But even that one, hana sauti. But now, the guy has come, kuna video, kuna Starlink, whatever, unaoneshwa, this is it, pesa ilitengwa, this was supposed to happen, this road, ndio maana hamwezi kafanya kubeba maziwa, ndio maana nyu mnajengewa market.
Yeah.
Market ni bay. Inaonekana tu ni kaa garage ya kutengeneza gari. So how can you sell your wares? So this is when the rubber, like you're told, you're putting, you're visualizing what was supposed to happen. Is it Isiolo? The morgue.
Yeah, the morgue. Yeah, morgue is not functional.
But you cannot understand it if you don't live there. But if you see now that you're visually being shown, this is it. So the change is there.
And I think the biggest fear when the current establishment are seeing what Morara is doing is that he's been moving county to county, and at some point he's now establishing other smaller Moraras.
Yes.
In all these spaces.
There
are people who are doing audits in their own spaces.
Yes.
In Kilifi, in Sijui. So he's establishing other Moraras. So we'll at some point have Moraras in all the 290 constituencies.
Yes.
We'll have Moraras there. And now it becomes much more difficult to steal, because in whatever corner you're stealing of Wargadud or of Mugoiri, there is a Morara there who will expose you. And now once you get exposed, now other people, not only the local people know, now other people know this is how the money is being stolen. This is the company that got the contract. It belongs to politician A and B. Then unasalimiwa
hapo
hapo.
Alafu hata sisalimiwa, unaambiwa ukiendelea sawa, waendelea tu
Yeah.
lakini haurudi.
Exactly.
Right? And,
Yeah.
and these guys are even much braver. You remember when we had the Akina Kiptum and them, and when we watched the souls, may they rest in peace, that were being taken out live and direct. Because that's another thing. These guys have become brazen. Live. They have become brazen in taking people out.
Yes.
Killing people, kidnapping. They have become brazen.
Yeah.
But the more they do that, the more the citizenry, the more Wanjiko becomes braver.
And I think also what they're not understanding is that with all these abductions and all these killings, it's not stopping.
It's not, in fact, if in anything,
it's emboldening
it's emboldening more people.
It's emboldening more people. And
Yes.
I think this is the part that's confusing them, because kawaida, these scare tactics would get people to withdraw, would get people to step back. But that's not happening. These Gen Zs, you're not telling them nothing. Ati yo tulimwabduct mtu, so ati uogope na osito, it's not happening.
Because even like when Morara was arrested, you could say, ile story vile kwa natuambia is like when they saw that he's being carried vile walingia kwa gari and they're fighting.
By the way, you know, when Morara was arrested, so much has happened this week that we never even had a chance to talk about that. When Morara was arrested, there was a mob on both X and another one on TikTok.
Yes.
That was giving live updates. They were following.
Yes.
They were following the car and they were
was
mobilizing.
Was it his driver or one of the security guys? Walingia kwa gari haraka upesi.
It
was everything. The family, the people around him.
Yes. So they mobilized other cars. They mobilized boda bodas. And people just showed up. And they mobilized money. Kama kuna mtu boda anataka mafuta, ongea na huyu hapo utapatiwa mafuta. So now, like, me, I was listening to TikTok, I could not believe. They were like, oh, ndo hiyo gari imefika, zikuna gari tatu. Zime divert. We fuata hiyo, mi nitafuata hii na mi nitafuata hii. So they were following all the cars. You know those diversionary tactics they do?
Yes.
So those guys were there from the beginning. They were like, okay, ndo huyo ametolewa kwa gari, ameingia na umtata. Like, they were doing, this was for a period of about, like 5-6 hours, and it was deep in the night in Kenya. And I was like, man, I have never seen something
and
like
those guys,
this.
And those guys that said tutaka hapa mpaka asubuhi.
I know. So if they were trying to disappear him, they must have changed their minds, because this thing. And then nani alikuwa anaingia kwa hiyo live stream, anaitwaje, Dennis Itumbi. Alikuwa anaingia kwa live stream, anaambiwa tumekuona wewe, toka kabla.
Oh really?
Yes.
Aliingia?
Yeah, alikuwa anaingia kwa hiyo live stream ya TikTok. The TikTok one, me I was trying to keep up with both TikTok and X, but your TikTok was more exciting. And the TikTok one, people were actually on video. People are not even hiding anymore.
No.
Yeah, people are not hiding
like,
anymore.
You know what? Again, and the change has been so dramatic. Has been so, I'm gonna say 180.
They were not prepared for it. No prepared for it.
Again, even like they don't know what to do, because they're thinking the earlier tactics of suppression are not working.
They're not working. I think the biggest mistake political parties made, these major political parties, is not having a proper youth wing. They never had a proper youth wing. They would get younger people, pay them. All these young people who've gotten to parliament, most of them very useless. Like they can't stand on their own. They're there, they've been paid, they will just do what they're told to do. So the youth is not properly represented in parliament. Think about uyu I don't know, ni ex-wife wa Samido, ama ni wife, ama ni second wife, what's her name, Karen Nyam. I mean, seriously, how is she representing, how is she supposed to be representing the youth? Like, seriously, how did she even make it to be considered? Like, uyu ndo tumeona is
woman, and is it nominated rep or whatever?
Whatever, she's a nominated senator.
Yeah.
However, there's exceptions, like the lady, the blind lady.
Yes,
I'm forgetting her name.
The singer.
Asige, yes. Something Asige. I
Crystal.
Yeah, Crystal
Crystal,
Asige.
yes.
Amazing. Like Uyo Apo, that's an exception. And those are some of the people who I think these political formations are coming. They should now start sieving, because at some point they will need some people who are experienced. And I think you have people like Okiya Omtata. There's people like Crystal Asige who've proven, who've shown that they are with the people from the beginning. So I think it's also important to identify who those people are.
Yes.
Now when we get to that point when they want to run. No, Kasmuel doesn't have experience. Kasmuel hana experience. We're talking about politicians
already inside, yes.
Politicians who are already inside. You know, like Okiya Omtata, now Christola Sige, and Onyonka, there's still some mixed feelings about him, although he's been injecting seriously.
Let me tell you.
In the past few months. He's been seriously
He has been injecting heavy.
Yes.
Naweza muingisha kwa hiyo.
Yeah.
A person who is silent, I don't know. Na Sifuna je?
No, Sifuna hata since the interview.
He has to play a very...
He's in a very delicate position. Since the interview, kuna vile you know, like
he has been injecting during the career.
He's been injecting during the hearings.
Yes, but he's not really...
party line.
He's not
party line.
Yeah,
yes.
he's not really coming out and, you know.
Kuna kitu pale.
Yeah, okay. Sawa. Wacha tusome some comments hapa. Some comments have been coming in thick and fast while we were talking hapa. Wow, there were so many comments that were coming through. People were very active. Hapa Lauren Kagwe anasema Morara alijaribu lakini kuteswa nayo. I think wengi are afraid. Brown Sugar anasema I all remember siku za Kajwang and Mwenje fights. I think you're talking about the late Otieno Kajwang. The Kajwang senior. Yeah.
Waliumana huko.
And then let me see, Lauren Kagwe again says wakati wa Moi tulikuwa na MySpace na stories za cyber cafe lol pekee. Sasa hii kuna internet, social media, smartphones, watu wamechanuka. Kulikuwa na MySpace kweli time ya Moi? I don't know.
No, MySpace came later.
Yeah, MySpace. But by the time I came to the US in 2003, 2004, MySpace ilikuwako US, but I don't know that MySpace ilikuwako Kenya because hizo zilikuwa siku za cyber cafe. Hata YouTube ulikuwa uwezi kunini. Yeah, in fact hata kulikuwa hata hakuna Gmail, ilikuwa tu ni Yahoo na Hotmail. And then
na nini ilikuwa itokaje ile ya Kenya ile
America Online.
No, wananchi. Wananchi. Ilikuwa ni Wananchi Online.
Kulikuwa na Artscape.
Yeah.
Was it Artscape?
No. Netscape.
No, there was a Kenyan name. What was the name of it?
Okay. Aya, sawa. Acha tuendelee na hizi comments hapa. Slean, or when Kajwang beat Mwenje, or was it the other way around? And then let me see. Slean anasema I will never forget Bullseye or some news program did a funny video on it. And then hapa Steven JJ anasema change iko na to register kwa inject party Kitawaramba. I have seen some people say hii ya Morara ni moto ya gazeti, but I want to differ. Guys are suffering na kuna watu wako na choppers eating your tax money bure kabisa. And then Brown Sugar anasema in Kenya you do have to be a certain party for you to vote for it, ama you can vote for any candidate despite being affiliated to any party. I voted for Kibaki siku ya Moi must go, but I don't remember if I was in any party. No, the general election you can vote for anyone. You don't have to be in any particular party. I think it's a party primary. Primaries in Kenya
or whatever.
They are such a mess.
Or whatever.
Their nominations are such a mess.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what to say about them. And then hapa Steven JJ anasema when you lose your fear, they lose their power. And then Lauren Kagwe anasema Gen Z have Mau spirit, is still very active. Slay anasema it was so wild, but they stood by Morara and Omtata pledged to stay there till morning with a few other people. Washeke anasema Mika amekuwa mpenzi mtazamaji, watu wa 3am wamelemewa. So Mika tupatia chance Mika azungumze.
Sasa jini melemewa na nini?
Yeah, and then Brown Sugar anasema that Mayai guy, that's Itumbi, he was chased kwa TikTok. And then let me see what else is here. Lauren anasema Ali Karenyamu ni side chick ama homreka ukipenda. She's representing herself, don't upgrade her. And then Castro Otieno anasema Kasamuel finished his political career today, he is done. And then Slay anasema after I finished high school there was MySpace na sisemi which year. And then Lauren anasema basi kulikuwa na simu ya jamii, my timeline is off hapo. Okay, sawa. And then hapo YouTube hapa kuna ayama ni EJ anasema Gen Z were coming to Morara's rescue, that's why it had to and abruptly in Bomas. Angry youths were mobilizing. So yeah, so you know, like that's just where we currently are. I also want to remind the listeners that tonight the show is brought to you courtesy of money transfer app Lemfi. The One Mic Show is offering a whole $30 for the first $100 sent on your first transaction. So download the app on the links that you see both on the YouTube live stream and on the Facebook live stream. The link is pinned. It goes straight. If not, if you download directly, just use the code OneMic and send this to your family, send this to your friends, send this to your exes, send this to your future ex-wife, send it to everyone.
Your future husbands.
Yeah, your future husbands.
Future ex-husbands.
Yeah, future husbands.
unaweza tumia morara na hii.
Unaweza tumia morara na hii. You can inject $100 to morara and you get $30 back.
Yes.
So unaona hapo umesaidia. So click on the link pinned in the comments and feel free to share. Na ukidownload, type downloaded. So asanteni sana, you know, like we're in this trial partnership with Lemfi, so I hope hamtatuangusha. Mudownload hata kama utatuma leo,
just download na weka code yetu,
download, sign in, weka code yetu, you know, like just that. Hata kama utatuma right away, download, sign in, weka code, and mambo itakuwa sawa. Now as we get to wrap up, someone asked about you know, like the Kenyan police in Haiti, Kenya's international reputation, because what's happening in Kenya is no longer staying in Kenya. These are not the days for KBC.
No.
It's being watched in other parts of the world, you know, like, because I'm getting messages from my friends from other countries and they're asking me, hey, what's going on in Kenya? Is everything okay? So people are watching what's currently happening. And on a global stage, we also have Ruto, who's kind of in bed with the Biden administration because they've been quite soft on him because he's doing his bidding. So what do you guys think? Where does Kenya currently stand internationally? And is there a way in which, as diasporans, we can inject to go and salimia all these organizations here in America who are working with Ruto, despite Ruto doing the shenanigans he's doing in Kenya? Sijui nianze na wewe ama acha tuanze na Mika hii hapa.
Yes.
Mika watu walikuwa anasema ati umekuwa mpenzi mtazamaji ama mpenzi mchangiaji. Mika
at 3 a.m.
Mika,
Because let me tell you something. Remember last week when we were doing the show and I said I was really excited when during the Unga, when Ruto started addressing the Unga people walked away.
Yes.
A lot of people might look at it and don't think, or a lot of people didn't see that, but that was actually something that the Kenyan youth will be proud about. You literally had a mini demonstration that was supported by the rest of the world when they walked away from him. Ruto in the previous Unga was among the
darlings.
best speakers. They were the darlings of that conversation. On his first year, he was the darling. He was invited everywhere. He built a very good rapport, and everybody was excited about this young Kenyan president because he was the darling of everybody. Since those Gen Z protests, we haven't seen that. Imeisha. And we saw the Unga was basically the proof of people like, yeah, you're just full of shit. You're not telling us anything. And they walked away. And that basically explains exactly where we are right now as a country. It shows to us that with the continuance of this, people are watching us and we shouldn't be late. Now, Kenya's reputation, I don't think Kenya has a bad reputation. I think the president has a bad reputation. He's trying to clean it up. But I believe that people are looking at Kenyans, the people in Kenya, and how they're fighting and trying to work everything. And they're proud of you. And they're supporting you. Don't relent on this. Back to you.
So it's quite interesting, especially the space that we live in. And I think, within Morara's philosophy that we have to continue injecting and we have to continue, doing this civic education. Part of the civic education for people in the diaspora, especially people in the US, is that we are the only Kenyans. Out of the 55 million Kenyans in the world, we are the few Kenyans, especially those of us who are here in the DMV. We are the few Kenyans who are right, next door to these organizations that are pushing some of these bad laws that we have. Some of these finance bills, they're coming from the International Monetary Fund. Some of these crazy laws that are being passed in Kenya, they're coming from American entities that's pushing African presidents to do certain things.
Yeah.
And that's why you see that America has been, very soft and even very encouraging of President Ruto. So we have to figure out a way of making these agencies aware that we are watching you. Because one thing America does not like is erambasment. They do not like being erambased at all.
Like an answer.
Wanaogopa aibu.
Yeah. And the good thing with America, you could be friends with them, you could be working with them, wakiona aibu imefika certain level, wanakuruka kipetero.
Live and direct.
And I think that's where we need to push Ruto, because you see his arrogance. He was so arrogant because he's also getting this protection. And another thing I will remind Kenyans, we are going towards an election here in the US. Now America is always talking, and you'll hear about this. America will always talk about, there's these foreign countries who are trying to interfere in American elections. The Iranians, the Chinese, the Russians. But America is the biggest propagator of interfering in other people's elections. They do it. They've interfered in multiple elections. And don't be surprised if that's one of the trump cards they're giving Ruto and telling him, where, you hold whatever we're asking you to do. And then come 2027, we got you. We have experience in this. We know how to do this, And America is very good, especially at sending, misinformation campaigns, nanini. They're very good at doing that. So I know they start complaining when other people do it to the Americans. But yeah, so I think we have to be vigilant and we have to be aware of that. Uno, what do you think? How is Kenya's international reputation looking like at the moment?
I think, there's always been this cry from very many Pan-Africans about a realization. Awaken. I'm Kenny. We have a lot of, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of, we can be self-sustaining or whatever. And for the longest time, it just used to be mdomo too.
Yeah, mdomo bagi.
Right?
Yeah.
But for me, there is an awakening. The Senegalese president.
Yeah, Faye.
Comes in, actually, grassroots.
Mashinani.
Yes. What's going on right now in Kenya is an indicator of, as Mika called it, punda imechoka. And now it's not about tribal kingpins. It's the young people, the Gen Zs, the millennials. Gen Zs are the ones who have given millennials and everyone else mdomo. Wamepeana kifua. So it is in good standing that there's a realization and a recognition that it's just the other day, not many Kenyans ever knew that we have got minerals.
Yeah. Now it's coming out. And it is coming out because, one, in fact, the person who... Did you watch the interview with Ogada? Yeah, Ogada. They were talking about the chemicals used to manufacture Levi jeans. Yeah, inatoka Kenya. Well, it's one of the few places where those chemicals come from.
And they've made you 10 billion. They just gave, 15 million?
Man.
But the people who are Kulai, the same pigs.
Lingugi, Mordecai
Ogada. Yeah. And it is because of... It's because of me watching the Onyonka interview. When I talk about minerals, when you had Ogada here, I'm like, nikarudi tena. There's an awakening that's going on. And the civic education that is traversing the country.
It's on steroids.
It's on steroids.
It's on steroids. Serious steroids.
And that in itself, because again, outside, I think sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't care about outside because, like I always say, I know you guys have a saying, but in Kikuyu we say Gemeshi Magana Moshie. Charity begins at home.
Yeah.
And as Morara says, uko ni kwetu.
We should build things for ourselves
first
before we start thinking of tourists and other people.
We've got families. We've our shows. Some of us, our parents, our brothers, our sisters, our nephews. Some of us, some kids are there. Tupende tuzipende, uko ni kwetu. Hatuwezi kahama.
Okay, sawa. Omosh Fire. Where do you think Kenya's international reputation is right now, as we wrap up?
I'll just throw in what one Mike was trying to say. Kenya ni home.
Kenya ni home.
Yeah. But international reputation, I think we're tops in terms of, when I'm saying tops, I'm saying that the Gen Z revolution, kind of like the Arab Spring. It's now very, very evident. It's on people's lips. It's on their mouth. It's on their tongues. They're talking about it. They're watching Kenya, and they're watching Kenya with hawk eyes. Just also because of where Kenya is strategically, economically, financially, all of those things, and this Haiti thing, of course, didn't help. Then, you go back, if somebody has been keeping track, even with, say, like the war, that has been Ukraine, Russia, and you go back, the person who stood up to speak about it at the UN was a Kenyan ambassador. So, we've had little things here and there that are being thrown that, and then we had your Kenyan president coming and having a state visit in the US and so on and so forth. Then a couple of months later, there's an uprising in the country and people are getting killed. So internationally, folks are now watching. They're looking, they're seeing, acknowledging, and things on the ground are working. I mean, literally, you co-workers will even ask you, hey, what's going on with Kenya? You guys, those kids are going crazy, and this is now assuming now you're talking to a co-worker who's either maybe Indian or is from another African country, because they're seeing all the things that they could not do, that they are going through in their places where they come from, but you guys are actually in the process of doing something. So from that perspective, in terms of an uprising, people are watching, people are seeing it. And it may not bode as well for the current sitting president because, he's got this persona outside, or this image that he had been working on for a very long time. Since he was deputy.
Yeah, he had tried to create a Pan-African image.
I'm this and that and blah, 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 and all of that, and has washed himself up, for not forgetting that in, when was it? When was Bensouda and ICC?
Bensouda and ICC, this was before 2000, before 2012.
Correct. So we are talking slightly over 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're
years.
safi kama nini?
Safi kama pamba.
How?
Mweupe kama pamba.
How?
Yeah.
If we even go back and we start looking back at this guy, what's his name? The Lucien something, the guy who was found in Paris, who was part
Felicien
of...
Kabuga.
There you
Felicien
go.
Kabuga,
Yes,
the guy
remember,
from Rwanda, yeah.
Where was he being hidden?
He was in Kenya, yeah.
And
he
who
was in
hid him?
Kenya. He was in Kenya.
And who hid him?
I think it was during Kibaki's regime.
Who was the chap who hid him?
You tell us, maybe...
that story, chaps don't want to talk about it, but it's this chap who's sitting as your president.
Oh, damn. Okay,
So,
that's a new story.
And some of these guys who have even lived in Kenya as political, not as political refugees.
Yeah.
The guy Kinagarang, Sijui Nini, all of that. Who are the chaps who have been sitting there and protecting them and doing whatever? We have an influx of chaps in from South Sudan in Kenya.
Yeah.
Why are they in Kenya? All those kids are all those chaps who are in
all
power,
the rich
right?
people. Of course,
And
we have
they're-
refugees, but we
but
also
those
have
guys
kids.
those guys are not refugees.
Yeah, we have
Those
kids
guys-
of the rich people.
Yes.
Yeah, they're
And
all in
they are-
Nairobi.
and they're all protected. And
Yeah.
those guys always carry and have police protection. And they do all sorts of crazy stuff,
Yeah.
which they get away with. So all I'm saying is that this guy the bullseye is on his, or should I say magnifying glass is on him, bullseye is on him, and he needs to figure this out real quick. But internationally, folks are watching. And the movement that the Gen Zs are on, the young ones that have started this thing is going. And at the rate that it's going, very soon, it will have overtaken anybody who even wants to call it a movement. It will have gone.
Okay.